Hello, my name is Jennifer McNeil. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for NFI's North American bus and coach business, including New Flyer and MCI. Today it is my privilege to welcome Mr. Doran Barnes, the CEO of Foothill Transit, based in West Covina, California, for a chat about his agency's transition to zero-emission public transit. With 4 decades in leadership experience, Doran has become one of our industry's most well-respected and best-known innovators in the zero-emission space. Foothill Transit operates a fleet of approximately 360 buses in Southern California's San Gabriel and Pomona valleys and is a longtime valued customer of NFI, operating Navi, New Flyer, and Alexander Dennis buses. In addition to his role leading Foothill Transit, Doran's been incredibly active in the community and in public transportation. He has previously served as Chair, Vice Chair, and Secretary-Treasurer of the American Public Transit Association, and a member of the Executive Committee and Board of Directors, and has also held board positions within the California Transit Association and several other community-based organizations in Southern California. So thank you for joining us today, Doran, and welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's great to be with you, and looking forward to our conversation today.
Wonderful. Well, before we start with the questions, I'd like to say thank you. In the last year, Foothill Transit has taken delivery of the very first North American Alexander Dennis electric double-deck bus and has ordered 33 New Flyer Excelsior Charge H2 hydrogen fuel cell electric buses. We're truly grateful for our partnership and the trust that you've placed in the NFI Group, and also for working with us through our transition to zero emission. So with that, let's jump into the questions and talk a little bit about your experiences. My first question for you is, can you walk us through Foothill's process of creating its zero-emission bus transition plan to meet the California Innovative Clean Transit Rule, including just any milestones or stakeholders, and then some of the successes and challenges that you've had?
Yeah, it's a great place to start, and we've had we've had a really fascinating journey moving into the zero-emission bus space. It really focuses on a part of our mission, which is to be innovative in how we serve our community, innovative in the vehicles that we operate, really trying to find new and creative ways to accomplish our mission, which focuses on moving people. The propulsion system is a key part of that, but we always try to focus on, first and foremost, our core job of getting people where they need to go. In terms of our transition plan, I think it's really been it's kind of a mix of having a plan that includes an amazing amount of flexibility. And I think that's really the key, is to balance those two things right now, because even though we're a decade into this zero emission journey, we still find that we're learning, that technology is changing, and that each step we have to reevaluate what's the state of technology, what's the state of the economics behind the technology, how do we accomplish that mission of moving our customers. And so the plan is a good guidepost, but it also is informed by flexibility. The other real key in this is funding. And while we do have some funding streams that are secure, there are a number of both federal and state funding streams that are competitive. So we never know for sure if we're going to be able to land that grant that allows us to take that next step in the process. We work really hard to try to find those dollars, but that's a challenge. So planning with flexibility, that's the key.
Yes, I totally agree. We're learning too, and we have definitely had to adapt our plans, with the experiences. And so, as Foothill executes its vision to introduce more EVs into its fleet, can you tell us a little bit about what you are most excited about, and then maybe also, what's keeping you up at night?
Yeah. Well, I think we're really excited about adding hydrogen as a zero emission fuel to our fleet, and we really appreciate the partnership with New Flyer in doing that. I tell everyone that we've placed the largest order of hydrogen fuel cell buses. We'll hold that trophy for probably 5 or 10 minutes, but we're going to hold it for those few minutes while we can. We expect that technology will continue to advance, but we're really excited about introducing that fuel technology. In part, I think it gets us to that goal of zero emission at the tailpipe. It also we expect will operate much like our current fleet of compressed natural gas powered buses. And being someone who started in the business and operations, those operational constraints are very real. So having a vehicle that we can fuel quickly, that has a 300 plus mile range, we think those are going to be real positives that hydrogen can provide. We're not giving up on grid power, and we're looking at grid power as well. And both of the technologies are advancing quickly. So that's something we're really excited about. We continue to be really excited about the Alexander Dennis double deck. And we have the first two grid powered double deck buses that are in public transit service in the United States that are now in operation. The community loves them. We're looking to expand that fleet, possibly work with you all to add hydrogen as a fuel choice to that double deck product. So those are the exciting parts. I think the things that keep me up at night are that we need to continue to learn, we need to continue to advance the technologies, and we really need to across the spectrum work on the economics of how to get to zero emission. And we're not there yet. We don't have cost parity in terms of CNG versus grid power or hydrogen. And given that we're all resource constrained, that's something that we've all got to work on really, really carefully and really, really closely. What we don't want to be doing is being in a position where we have to reduce service because of higher cost to get to zero emission. We've got to do zero emission and deliver our core mission. That's the key.
Yeah. I think that some of the new programmatic changes with the Surface Transportation Bill, I think, will probably help with some of that. But certainly all the participation through the different organizations, whether it's APTA or some of the more technical organizations, we need to be all advocating for that same thing. Absolutely. Yeah. So this video will actually be viewed by NFI employees, leaders, our shareholders, and some of our suppliers. We'd like to ask you what you look for in partners and suppliers as you're heading through this process of building up your zero emission fleet. And we'd like to share that with all of our stakeholders. Can you help us understand what you look for?
Well, you said the word. It's partnership. Ultimately in this transit family, we all have our respective roles and responsibilities and contributions. But the thing I've learned throughout my career, and much of this comes from my work through the American Public Transportation Association and the California Transit Association, ultimately, we're all in it together. And we can't make the technology succeed without New Flyer, without your employees, without your suppliers and partners. All of us have to come together to make it happen. And so what we look for are partners that will work with us to work through challenges, to work through difficulties, to tackle tough problems, and ultimately help us accomplish that ultimate mission of moving people where they need to go. So it really is being flexible, it's being good partners, it's being understanding, and it's delivering.
Well, that is a wonderful message to take back to all of us. And the transition is not without its challenges. It is definitely solving a new problem every single day, and we kind of all need to be focused on that end goal. And back to your point earlier around the fuel cell technology, we firmly believe at NFI that there is a place for both technologies, and that the end state of a zero emission public transportation world has both. But in your 2021 and 2022 business plan, the fuel cell bus and infrastructure procurement was actually at the top of your initiatives. Can you help us understand what drove that transition to lean so heavily into fuel cell technology?
Well, again, I think the thing we're looking at with fuel cell technology, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think that both technologies have a place in the transit world. I don't think it's an issue of will one or the other become the dominant technology. 10 years from now, we'll have another chat and we'll see, how this turns out, maybe longer. But we're really viewing hydrogen as the next step in our zero emission journey. And we're looking to address some of the operational challenges that we've seen with grid power in terms of range and in terms of infrastructure. We expect we're going to learn things. We expect we're going to learn things we don't even know we're going to learn. But that's part of this journey that we're all as an industry on together is to figure out really how to perfect the technology and make it all work. So for us, we've been a pioneer in this space. We want to continue to be a pioneer in this space. We see this as the next step, and we're really excited to see where it takes us.
Yeah. One of the other phenomena that I think is happening, just looking at the forecast information and market data that we collect, is that for pilot programs of 1 to 5
Yeah,
buses, battery electric is actually easier to implement as a pilot program because the cost of infrastructure is quite a bit less for that volume. Hydrogen fuel cell, if you need to put in a fueling station, your smallest fueling station is probably sized for more like 50 vehicles. So, I think that's actually played in, and as people get experience, they're looking to try new things. Are
Jennifer,
there
on
any
that
other
on that
factors?
point, I think you've touched on something that's really, really critical and something I talk about a lot. And as we look to this next chapter in this journey, scalability is a topic that has to be top of mind. And it's great to do zero emission buses, and it's great to get that experience with 1 to 5 buses. We need that experience as an industry. We've done a fair amount of that. The next phase is really to get to scalability. How do we deploy 50 grid powered buses? How do we deploy 50 hydrogen fuel cell buses? And I think that's going to take us to the next level that we need to get to. It's also going to require a whole new level of problem solving, and it's going to require the resources on all levels to make that happen. So, in my mind, as we look to the future, scalability is going to be a key topic.
I couldn't agree more. I think it actually brings more stakeholders into that problem solving arena as the utilities and the fuel providers get involved. And then we start talking about resiliency and, public transit is essential in a crisis. And so making sure that it is available no matter what. So I agree completely. Are there any other factors that have been driving the decision-making process for how you accomplish the zero-emission transition? I know that the innovative clean transit rule in California has played a big part in terms of engaging agencies to come up with their plans and spend that time in the planning stage. Can you help us understand how the work in the background has been progressing?
Well, I think the innovative clean transportation rule has certainly been an important topic of conversation here in California. And really, as I look to our transit partners, our operating agencies across the state, we've all leaned in pretty heavily in terms of advancing that effort. I have the honor of chairing the California Transit Association Zero Emission Bus Task Force, and we had a recent conversation about where folks were, where transit operators were in the state, and was anybody in a position where they really needed to kind of hold back a little bit for various reasons. Could be economic, could be a variety of things. And generally, the feedback that we got across the state was we're all leaning into this area, we're all leaning into this topic, and really keeping up with, if not being ahead of, where the innovative clean transportation rule intends to be. I think the COVID crisis and the pandemic of the last 2 years has caused perhaps some slowdown, but as an industry, we're still really focused on moving that forward. So that's certainly been a big topic of conversation. I think the other part of it that we again keep coming back to is we've got to make sure that we're focusing on the front door in addition to the tailpipe, meaning we've got to be focused on that core mission. How are we transporting our riders? How are we serving our community? Because at the end of the day, we can be running the cleanest buses possible, but if we're not serving the community, if we're not carrying riders, we haven't really accomplished what we're out to try to achieve. So it's not one or the other; it's really both. But it's not losing focus on either one as we move forward.
I'm actually really encouraged by some of the programmatic changes within the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to that end. I mean, not only does it require the zero emission transition planning, but also there are pieces of environmental justice,
Yeah.
climate change, and then, social justice as well, kind of built into some of the new programs. So I'm hopeful that all of these things that the industry itself has been leaning into, it basically strengthens that foundation and kind of moves it all forward together at the same time.
Yeah, no, some really, really good threads there. And I think so much of what we do is it's interconnected in some really, really important ways. So all of these discussions ultimately link together to mission accomplishment and being thoughtful. And I do think the pandemic, while it's created many challenges, it's also created opportunities to rethink what we do as transit operators, how we serve our community, the role that we play. We've certainly gained a heightened appreciation for those essential workers and have found that many, many of our riders are using our services to get to essential jobs. And while some members of our community may not ride transit, I think there's been an increased appreciation for folks that do ride transit to work in hospitals, to work in healthcare facilities, for that matter, to stock the grocery shelves or work in the grocery stores, or, the list goes on. But again, what we do is so interconnected to the community. That's, I think, an awareness that we really need to make sure that we continue to hang on to coming out of this.
I couldn't agree more. It's actually created a really exciting time, I think, in public transit. Well, thank you so much, Doran. On behalf of Paul Subry, the leadership team at NFI Group, and all of our businesses, I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you for joining us today and sharing your firsthand insights on zero emission bus deployment in North America. We sure appreciate your leadership of clean mobility and really look forward to celebrating that moment when Foothill reaches 100% of its zero emission goal and transition.
That will be an exciting day. It's been an honor to be with you, and we look forward to celebrating the day when we're 100% zero emission. And trust me, we're going to celebrate every step along the way because every victory is important. We really appreciate the partnership and look forward to continuing this very exciting journey with you all.
Agreed. All right. Well, on to the next milestone, which I suppose will be the delivery of the fuel cell buses, and we'll continue the story.
There we go. Sounds great. More to come.